Welcome back to another episode of Everything But the Lesson Plan. I am your host, Francesca Thompson, and today we're diving into something we all can relate to: the impact of that one special teacher who truly made a difference in your life. Pause for a minute and think about who that teacher is. I've shared who mine is several times on this podcast. So when you think about that special teacher, what did they do? That teacher who didn't just teach the material, but also inspired you, challenged you, and left an impression that stuck with you forever. In a time where we're facing a nationwide teacher shortage, I thought it would be great for us to get back to sharing stories of why teachers are so important and how they make a difference in our lives. So each season of Everything But the Lesson Plan, we have someone on the show to share about their favorite teacher. And today, yes, my special someone is Jamilya Mayo-McAllister, my friend. I am excited that you are here. How are you, Jamilya?
I'm doing just fine. Thank you for inviting me.
Yes, so you are in Virginia, right?
I'm in Virginia, Northern Virginia.
And you told me, what is that weather looking like right now?
Pretty cold. It's
Yeah.
probably, I think it's in the teens today.
Ooh, so we're cold down here in Georgia, and it's just like we're not ready for this. So I'm gonna need y'all to take your weather back.
Exactly. Yeah, it's pretty bad.
Yes. So
Pretty bad.
and y'all got snow, right?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, we don't where it's predicting the snow, but it's not here just yet. So we'll see.
Yeah, we got 7 inches
Oh
between
my
10 and 2 inches.
goodness.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, we don't. I don't think we will ever get that. So, Mike, do y'all get to? Do you get? Do their schools close when that happens? Or y'all still?
Yeah, the kids were out for 4 days last week.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's interesting. So, yeah, we don't have 7 inches. We don't have any inches right now. I think
Oh,
last
that's
week
good.
we might have had 2 inches.
Okay.
But So I'm glad you're here today, and this is one of my near and dear. I love this episode. We do it every season because, like I said, it's just important to share stories. And so I want you to start off with just telling us a little bit about yourself, like your career goals, your aspirations, what are you currently doing, and things like that.
Okay, well, I will just kind of give you my background. I'm originally from Tampa, Florida.
Hmm.
Raised by both my parents. My father's deceased, but my mother was a teacher.
Oh.
She taught for 33 years as a business education teacher at Hillsborough County Public Schools. I have one brother who's a fireman, and he still lives in Tampa. So I graduated from Florida A&M University, which is in Tallahassee, Florida, the
Hmm.
capital of Florida, with a Bachelor of Science degree in public relations with a concentration in economics.
Mm.
Um, and I later on got a EDS in curriculum and instruction from Nova Southeastern University and a master's of business administration from with a concentration in marketing from Devry University, Keller Graduate School of Management. And
Mm.
in between that time, I got my certification from UGA, University of Georgia,
Yeah.
um, with business education. So how did I become an educator?
Hmm.
In a roundabout way. So I initially started in retail. So I worked in retail for a while. Well, I was in a program in Inroads. Inroads is a program that gets minority youth to incorporates them into corporations and gives them opportunities for internships that turn into permanent positions. So I
Oh.
started at Publix and got a chance to be an assistant manager at 17 years old. And I learned all the ins and outs of grocery retail. And when I graduated from college, I got a chance to be another assistant manager at Macy's at
Hmm.
Perimeter Mall in Atlanta, Georgia. And Probably a year in, I realized that wasn't what I wanted to do. So I transitioned into corporate America. So I worked at the UPS corporate headquarters in Sandy Springs as a financial analyst. At the time, I was wiring money in and out of the company and actually was there during 9/11. So,
Wow.
yeah, so that was interesting. I was there about 5 years and I really I had something inside of me saying, I really want to teach. I really want to transfer this knowledge that I have and bless somebody else. So I tried to transition to another team and was not successful at UPS. So I decided to change my career again, and I became a substitute teacher. And I did that for about, I would say half a semester. And then that second semester, they had already like decided to hire me as a teacher. I guess it was just natural for me because it
Yeah.
was in the family. So I started, I was at Maxwell and I started helping the teachers there. I was like a parapro for like a semester. And then after that, I became a teacher like that next year. So I started teaching and really was thrown in there as a business teacher. And then that's when I started at UGA and started in the program to gain my certification as a business teacher. In the interim, while I was there, I also my one day my principal said, you know what, we want you to teach marketing as well. So I went and got my certification in marketing and stayed at one school for 15 years teaching business and marketing. I was the academy lead for the business group and I mentored teachers. I also represented the district, Gwinnett County District, on the board of directors for the Professional Association of Georgia Educators for 3 years. So that was really something a very learning opportunity and a really great opportunity to be in that position for that length of time, representing teachers and supporting teachers.
So you got on, you started in you started in corporate, then
Mhm.
you pursued your dream to become an educator, and you were teaching for a while, became a teacher leader, led the district in a few other initiatives, but now you are not in education, correct? You transitioned to another field?
Yeah, so before I stop, I forgot to mention that I also started the IB program at my school.
Oh
So I
yeah.
was um the emphasis on career for IB. And
Mhm.
so that was a great opportunity as well. So just setting it up and getting the grant and all of that that was necessary for that. So 15 years in, I felt like I had done all that I could
Mhm.
in the education arena in that particular school. And I really had a desire to pursue something else. I felt like my MBA was not being utilized, and I
Mhm.
really wanted an opportunity to use it. So I applied for a government position. A friend of mine who actually graduated from Florida A&M as well,
Yeah.
she worked in government, and we both have MBAs, and she was just like, "Yeah, you really should apply." So probably April 2019, I took that leap of faith and I applied and I got the position.
Well,
And it was really, really amazing because one of the things that I said in my interview was like, well, I'm a teacher. I have not ever worked for the government and kind of fish out of water. And she said it doesn't matter. They want people from different backgrounds, genres. And so that's great to bring to the table. So I was like, okay. So I was happy to hear that. It definitely was a huge learning curve, and I had to literally start from scratch. I sold my house that I lived in for 12 years
mhm.
and resigned from my position in August of 2019 and started my new position in federal government September 30th, 2019.
Well,
So,
I really enjoy that this is almost like a two for one because it's your story as an educator, but also we're going to get into who you admired as a teacher as well. So I love that you were in education and able to kind of share that piece with people of kind of your different steps. And you know what? Sometimes we go off and do different things, and that is okay. You committed, what did you say, 15 years of your life
Yes,
to
15
education?
years. Yes.
Okay. And I know you personally and can say you made a difference in those students' lives. When I tell you, if it's a teacher that's going to advocate for their students and make sure their students have every single thing that they need, Jamilya is the one. She is definitely the one.
I enjoyed my stay, and this is something I told my students before I left. It was bittersweet, but I do realize that there's not one path to to you. You don't, there's
Yes.
so many aspects of you that maybe you haven't tapped into. So hopefully someone listening today will realize that
Yep.
don't put yourself in a box. There,
Mhm.
a lot of times we ask students, what do you want to be when you grow up?
Mhm.
Well, maybe there's multiple things they want to be, and that's okay.
That's
And
okay.
it's really important that you move on your heart. You do things, you try new things, and just excel at everything that you do. Make an impact
Mhm.
wherever you are. And, you always can go back. If you decide that you want to go back to a career because you realize maybe that is what I really like to do more than this, but it doesn't hurt to try. So I encourage you to reach out, stretch your wings, fly, try to do something different, move, leave
Mhm.
your comfort zone, because a lot of times you will never know what your potential is until you come out of your comfort zone.
Yeah. So, with that being said, we're going to move into the type of student you were. K through 12, or even in college. I always give my guests this chart. And in that chart, it's like these 13 types of students. And so when you looked at that chart, where did you kind of place yourself as a student?
Well, I will say, let me go back and look at this chart so I can make sure that I'm telling you the right thing. I will tell you this, I was a conscientious student
Mm-hmm.
and I built relationships with my teachers
Mm,
and not only my teachers, but my counselors.
yeah.
So opportunities came about. I knew that networking was important at a young age. And so I worked in the counseling office. I worked in the front office. So
Mm-hmm.
I built relationships with the principal, the assistant principals. So everybody knew me. So when the opportunity came about, they thought of me.
Yeah, that's good.
So I knew how to advocate for myself at a very
Uh-huh.
young age, and never had a problem with speaking up about something or a particular situation, a topic. I was confident.
Yeah, and that's very hard for students. Quite a few students, especially in the age of technology, where we're so glued to this, and we don't really have to voice ourselves a lot because we can post things. I think we've gotten away from kids advocating for themselves. Even with my own child, I can tell the difference between my youngest and my oldest,
Mhm.
too. I have to kind of push her because she's a tech baby. She was born in 2009. She had an iPad in her hand.
Right.
And so for her, it's kind of like you want me to say this? You want me to go and talk to them? That was how it started. But now that I'm pushing her more, they got to know how to do that or they're going to
Right.
get missed.
I teach my son. I have a 12-year-old son who's in sixth grade, and I talk to him about that on a regular basis. I tell him, you need to speak up for yourself. This is something you need to ask your teacher. You
Yeah.
need to talk to this person about this.
Hmm.
Because I also talk to a lot of times as a teacher, one of the things I did, I always picked on that student who was quiet
Yeah.
because I wanted to make sure that they understood that their voice was important, that what they had to say meant something
Yeah.
and it was valued. And not only that, but I wanted them to speak up for themselves
Yeah.
and to say something because what they had to say was important.
Yeah.
And so that's what I tell my son. I think once again, he probably has it naturally because I teach him to be bold about what he's saying and his thoughts
Hmm.
because like I said, I just think this is really important to teach kids to be able to speak up for themselves in
Yes.
every aspect with their peers, with understanding how to speak to an adult, but also letting them know, hey, I care about my grade, I care about what I'm doing, and I really want you to know that.
Yeah.
So I think that that's really important. So I think as a student, I understood how important that was. I was very independent. My mother was a high school teacher, as I mentioned, and I refused to go to her school because I was very independent. I wanted to
Yeah.
go to my own high school and establish my own, reputation. And
Yeah.
so it was important to me.
So
So
with you being so strong as a person, very independent, didn't wasn't shy to voicing your opinion about stuff and advocating for yourself. When we look through all of that, this is who you
mhm,
are. When we think about who your favorite teacher was, and that's my question.
yes.
I want to know who was that teacher that was your favorite and what
Mhm.
did they bring to the table for such a strong student?
So it was my band teacher, believe it or not.
Oh,
Yeah. So um he he was really special. That's one thing that why I encourage students to be in extracurricular activities,
mhm.
because in those settings you get to really build relationships with the coaches.
Yeah,
And in this instance, it was my band teacher. Like you spent a lot of time with your band teacher because I was in the marching band, I did symphonic band, and sometimes did the jazz band. And
yeah,
so I did an honors band as well. And so I cared about my instrument, and I learned early on how important it was to me, and he gave me the opportunity. Like, he taught me competition. So like I would compete for the first chair, and he taught me how to be confident and how to practice and how to be consistent.
mhm,
Like, I learned so many transferable skills from him, and he probably doesn't know it, but I mean, he just made such a huge impact in my life.
yeah.
I also had another teacher. He was my first band. He introduced me to the clarinet. And, later on, I found out that he was a renowned musician.
Oh, wow.
My mom was like, yeah, people knew him all over town.
Oh,
I was
wow.
like, man. Well, he introduced me to that clarinet, and he got on me, man. I was in fourth grade. I'll never forget it.
Mhm,
And he really, like, he was a heavy set short man, but he really got on us, and I'll never forget that. He was really special to me.
mhm.
And so because of him, I became musically inclined, and I
Oh,
was able to, and I learned how to read music early because of him. So he taught me how to read music, and then once I got to high school, it was a done deal. I was in the band, and like I said, and I knew how to read that music.
mhm.
Um, and so those two people, they really cared about me. They saw my potential. That was something that stood out about them. They saw the best in me, and
Mm,
they saw what I could not see, you
yeah,
know. And so that is what made such an impact in my life. And I spent so much time with them, because we practicing after school, traveling with the marching band,
yeah,
you know, and then he put me in the honors band, which is like a county-wide competition. And we traveled, I never forget, we traveled to Gatlinburg, Tennessee. That was like my first time doing that. We were in a band competition. So it was really impactful. And it's always going to be something, that a stamp in my life, that's going to always be something I can always look back and say, wow, this teacher really made an impact in my life. And
yeah.
here I have an appreciation for music. So I have a music appreciation for all genres of music because of him.
Mhm. It sounds like both teachers pushed you in a positive way to becoming your best. And I like that you pointed out that your band teacher, they exposed you to things outside of the classroom. You were able to travel and get to see things that you never saw before. That was really important for me and my favorite teacher as well. I love that I was able to get exposed to these different opportunities outside of the classroom. And I do believe that that helped develop me as a person as well.
Yeah. And I will say this, if I can add, I
Mhm.
had teachers as well outside of the classroom.
Oh.
So I was a Delta teen. My mother was part of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, and therefore I became a Delta. But prior to being a Delta, I was a Delta teen, and we went I met them, I think, almost every weekend. And I remember at 10 years old, they taught us how to articulate, how to speak up, how
Mm.
I remember they taught me how to write a check. I'll never forget this.
Wow.
They taught me just really essential skill sets, life skills, right?
Yeah.
And then I also was, and I told you in the program, Inroads. Inroads. Oh my God. If anyone who's listening to this, if you're a student, you know that there's an Inroads in your city, please look into it. It's an excellent
Mhm.
program. I went every Saturday. They taught me business professional skills,
Mhm.
how to work in the workplace, how to talk to people, how to network. I'll never forget, they made me write a 10-year plan, what my plan was for my life at, I think I was 16, and I
Wow.
was just like floored. I was like, huh? And they were like, yeah, I want you to write your plan. I want a
Yeah.
5-year plan and a 10-year plan. And I
Wow.
was blown away. And ever since then, from that experience, I created an assignment for my students, and it was a vision board assignment that I gave
Uh,
them.
I
And with
remember
that,
those. You used to do those. I remember
yes.
that.
And so I had the kids write out their 1 year, 3 year, and 5 year. I didn't make them do 10,
Hmm.
but they had to tell me what their goal was, how they plan to achieve it, and what were they going to do? What are they doing now to accomplish their goal?
Hmm.
I think that that's one of the key things is like, don't just tell me your goal, but what are the steps you're going to take to achieve it? And what are you doing now to accomplish it?
That's
So
good.
when I look back on my life, all of those things that I was exposed to, thank
Yeah.
God my parents gave me those opportunities to be a part of these different programs, all those different things that I did. Also, let me tell you that I know you're part of Alpha Kappa, Alpha Sorority
Yeah.
Incorporated. They had a program in Florida, it was called Saturday's Children, and I'll never forget that. And as a result of Saturday's Children, I got introduced to NAACP. And that's how I ended up being a part of Axel competition.
Hmm.
They also introduced me uh, to Maya Angelou poetry and
Wow.
African dance. Yes, so I learned so much from that program. I'll never forget Saturday's Children, and I've always said one day I'm going to create my own Saturday's Children
Hmm.
because of them, I learned more about my African culture and my background and understanding how important it is to represent our history, understand our history,
Yeah.
learn our history. And then, like I said, I remember Maya Angelou came to our actual Saturday's Children, and she
Wow. Oh
said,
my gosh. Did you get pictures
yes,
of that?
yes, I'll never forget that. We
Ooh,
actually met a few people that were famous people, and at the time you're so young, so you're
don't
thinking,
even
you never
realize.
not putting two and two together. And
Hmm.
I'll never forget I got a chance to go to the Axel competition because I told you they were a part of they connected us with NAACP, and Rosa Parks was there. It was in
Cool.
Chicago, Illinois. And I'll never forget it. Yes. And she was there. And so so when I say that I had teachers outside, these different programs and these different people really impacted me. Like I said, the guy from Inroads, the director at the time of Inroads, that man, oh my God, he passed a few years ago. He was so impactful in my life.
Hmm.
Like, so I have several people who have touched me in some way, and they have planted seeds in me to make me who I am today.
Yeah.
So I
I
can't
love
just
it.
narrow it down to
The
one person.
one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. Okay, so I mean, you just had a rich experience as a student, just like with all the resources, the people connected to you that made you who you are. I love that, and I appreciate that you shared that with us today. So when you think about a new teacher, okay, someone fresh out of college or fresh out of changing their careers, and they are about to enter into the classroom for the first time, what would be like some quick advice that you would give them, that one thing that you would say to them?
Okay. One of the first things I would say, build relationships.
Mm-hmm.
So one thing that I observed as a new teacher, stepping in a classroom, I was actually taking over for somebody. So it was very challenging.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't look like a teacher. I was young. And so the kids thought that I was their age, I
Yeah.
guess. So I would imagine if you're new, you're probably going to look like a teenager. So one of the things that I would say is make sure that you have a line, you create boundaries. However, you develop relationships with that. So making sure that they understand that you are in charge, even
That's
though you
right.
might look young, you're in charge. You must have protocols, rules, regulations that you establish in your classroom and make sure people don't cross them. And give them consequences for
Mhm.
actions. But like I said, establishing relationships. Because one of the things that I learned is when you show students that you care about them, they perform better in your class. They
Mm-hmm.
want to do well because you want them to do well. I think it's important that you know their name,
Yeah.
know how to pronounce their name properly, even if it's a very difficult, maybe international type name. Take your time, write it out in syllables, whatever you have to do, because that's one of the things that I do remember as a child is people mispronouncing my name.
Your name.
It really bothered me.
Mm-hmm.
So now as an adult, I correct people. At the time I didn't because I didn't want I felt like I was offending them because they mispronounced my name. But
Mm-hmm.
what I realized is they were offending me.
That's right.
So I think it's really important that you take the time to know what I used to do is you can just do it in Excel or you can do it in Word. You create some blocks and I would give them a seating chart and I would put their name in that box. So when I called them, I knew their name
Yeah.
and believe it or not, that's going to make a huge impact on a
It
lot of
is.
these students because some people just really don't take the time to know their name.
They
Know
don't.
a little bit about them. If you can know one or two things about each one of your students, that really is going to make an impact. It could be they are in the band. It could be that they're a singer. It could be that they act. Maybe they're good at drawing. Whatever it might be, learn one or two things about each student and ask them about it. When you talk to them, you talk to them about their grade. Maybe you're calling them up to the desk about their progress report. But take a moment to say, okay, so how's your cat? How's your mom doing? Or, how you doing in band? I know you're performing, or you're in a competition, whatever it might be. I would also say try to go to some of the performances at the school. So for instance, like if there's, football, go to a football game. It doesn't have to be every one of them, but just go to one because one of your students is most likely going to be on a football team.
Yeah.
Go to a band concert, go to one of the plays. A lot of my students were a part of the plays and performances and things of that nature. And if you can, eventually be a
Yeah.
sponsor a club or organization. I got a chance to do FBLA, which is Future Business Leaders of America, as well as DECA, which is a marketing organization. And I really got to those students, I established a relationship on a whole nother level from my classroom students. Not only that, but that gives you opportunity to pull some of your classroom students into these organizations
Yeah.
and encourage them to participate in these what we call them career and technical education associations,
Mm-hmm.
CTEA.
Yeah.
Um, and so these are some of the things that I would say. One other thing is study. It's really important. So I'll give you one example of something that happened to me. And I've kept in touch with the students ever since. So I had a principal. Well, at the time, she was not my principal, but she was coming in next year. And I had her oldest daughter. And this girl was brilliant. When I tell you brilliant, she was brilliant. Like I could not, the curriculum itself was not good enough for this student. And because I taught business, it's real hard to come up with so much new stuff for this one student when everybody else is kind of behind or average. And then you got this one student who is just like excelling. So I think it's really important to understand your students are going to be on all different levels, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to be important for you to study so that if you run into that kid who's brilliant, what are you going to do for them? because it would be a really a unfortunate thing for them to be in a classroom for 30, 40 minutes or an hour and then they're bored.
Hmm.
So coming up with things for the gifted student, coming up for things for the kid who might have some type of special need, as well as thinking about the student who is that average student that might really be a smart student, but you just got to push them a little bit more.
Yeah.
Coming up, creating diversified lesson plans that allow each student to have some type of interaction, some type of participation. And then I would also encourage maybe doing different group projects. I normally in my classroom, because I was a business ed and marketing teacher, I did project-based learning type of assignments where the kids would have to actually create something, which is great for group activity. And that teaches them how to produce something, not just learning a lesson, but taking that lesson and making it practical and producing something.
Well,
So I
honey,
would
you have
encourage you,
definitely given us a lot of
yes,
good ideas. Um, I'm like, gosh, I'm gonna have to put the inroads in here. I'm gonna look for that and see if I can connect that and put that in the show notes. I'm definitely we're gonna put your information also in here as well, ma'am. I don't know how, look, you ain't coming back.
I'm thinking about doing some type of financial literacy,
Class, even just for a little bit, just come back,
yeah,
make an impact with these
I
students.
might I might try to do well. The school where my son goes to, they do have an after school program. And
Yeah,
I was thinking about volunteering there and teaching some type of financial literacy so that, or just something to help
yeah.
students.
Even if it's during the summertime, you know?
Yeah,
Like
the
I
only
think I'm
issue
gonna work
with
this summer and do a summer camp because I haven't, I'm not in the classroom anymore, but I do still work with students. But I would love to just be able to, just for a small amount of time, be in the classroom and do a little teaching. So I think I'm not about doing it this summer, you know.
only negative is my schedule's not like yours,
I know,
I'm in.
right?
So I would have to be an afternoon type thing because I
Yeah,
work, during the week, but and we don't have summer breaks. That is
yeah,
something I do
that's
miss.
right. I
But
know, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm sure whatever you do, you're gonna do it with excellence because
Yeah.
me and my son have participated in your programs and
Uh-huh. And I really
wonderful.
appreciate that. Is he still in STEM or and did he
Well,
decide?
yeah, well, he's actually at an IB middle school right now.
Okay.
And he actually, it's funny that you asked that because he's actually in the NASA program. So NASA
Oh, he
is
is.
actually doing a program introducing them to different things on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. And he's getting ready to be a part of the George Mason computer science program where he's gonna go on Saturdays and he's gonna learn about coding and also gaming.
I'm so happy that he's still in STEM. I do I loved hearing when students come out of those programs and they still continue that journey. Just like my son, he is an engineer, so he continued as well. Well, honey, this has been a great conversation. I really
Yes.
enjoyed connecting with you. Hopefully, this episode will motivate and inspire a teacher. That's what it's about.
Right.
It's just about inspiring teachers and telling our stories because the stories that you shared today, Jamelia, is going to impact someone. Someone is going to learn from what you have shared today, how to be a better teacher, how to be a better student, and how to get through that first year. And that's what this is all about. So, for my listeners, be sure to subscribe to Everything But the Lesson Plan. Share this episode out. If you know a new teacher and that teacher needs some inspiration, send them this episode, right? And so, whether you're an educator or a student, just remember that one teacher who made a difference in your life. Jamelia explained who hers was today and what that teacher did for them. And remember those incredible memories and just how it made you who you are today. So, for all the teachers that are out there, I need you to keep doing one thing for me, I need you to keep on thriving. And thank you so much, Jamilya, for joining us on the show today.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.